A lifelong Joplin resident with a long history of public service is honored with a ceremonial street naming. I'm Samantha Walker, and I'll have that story coming up.
Plus, KCU Joplin hosts a mass camp for potential medical leaders of tomorrow. And a pair of kid-friendly robots at the Carthage Public Library for a fun learning experience.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Dow Quick. A crowd of people gathered in Joplin's Easttown neighborhood to recognize a lifelong resident and civil servant. KOAM Samantha Walker has more on honoree J.D. Love and why the community is coming out to celebrate him.
Mr. J.D. is a man that has given so much to his community, and I don't know a person that doesn't like Mr. J.D.
J.D. Love is a name that many people recognize around the Joplin community. Love is a lifelong Joplin resident and spent decades as a public servant, from being a police officer to a coroner.
He is just what you would call a true legacy in Joplin, a true legend in Joplin.
The Easttown Dream District and the City of Joplin are working together to ensure Love's service to the city is never forgotten. They have unveiled a ceremonial street name, J.D. Love Way on McKee Avenue, the street where Love grew up. He says this honor is something he never expected to see.
Every time I think about this day, I'll be happy for the rest of my life. Because it's something I never expected, you know. But it happened in the city that I love.
Former co-workers and citizens who remember Love and his service came out to thank him for everything he has done.
That's what made him an exceptional officer. So it's his kindness that really stuck out to me. He was a role model on how you treated people, how you provided that service to the citizens.
And while organizers hadn't originally planned to hold the ceremony on Juneteenth, they say there is no better day for it to happen.
If it wasn't for Juneteenth, we wouldn't even have this moment. This is a real significant moment in history, and we are just happy to be a part of it, happy to help get it orchestrated, and just happy to see it through completion.
Those who came to honor Mr. J.D. Love say it was great to give him this recognition when he was still here to receive it.
It's a great day for not only J.D. Love, but for our community as a whole. To be able to honor someone while they're still here and they can accept it and receive it is a wonderful thing.
And seeing this make me almost do something right.
Reporting in Joplin, Samantha Walker, KOAM News.
Love signs will be added to the existing signs along McKee Avenue as a ceremonial naming. Residents will not have to change their addresses. We keep hearing about the bird flu, and it seems to have a lot of names. The highly pathogenic avian influenza, or HPA1 for short, is actually a strain of the H5N1 avian flu. It's currently spreading in the U.S., Europe, and Asia. Both wild birds and domestic poultry have been affected, along with cases found in several wild animals and a few cats. This spring, we started hearing about infections in dairy cattle, including 4 herds in Kansas. There have also been cases reported in humans who have been in contact with sick dairy cows in 3 states. Kansas implemented strict movement rules for lactating cows that require both a certificate of veterinary inspection and a negative milk test. While the state's dairy herds seem to be in the clear now, Kansas health officials don't want to take any chances.
This virus in the dairy world is a little bit unique in the fact of the way it's responding. And so we're trying to understand that better. But we do know that it's moving from herd to herd. And so, the biosecurity component of it, monitoring how you're moving cattle, our recommendations are if you don't have to move cattle, don't move cattle at this point in time until we can understand it better.
A little bit later in this broadcast, KOAM's Tanya Bach is going to introduce us to a Southeast Kansas rancher who's been monitoring the situation and battling the bird flu stigma with his own local produce. Now let's check in with Chief Meteorologist Doug Heddy for a first look at the weather.
Well, of course, it was hot. It was humid for us today. High temp, right around 90 degrees. We started at 71 during the morning hours, a little bit above our average high of 87. 66 is our normal low. 101 is a record set back in 1953. Still, it's warm. Temperatures 80, 81 degrees across the region, so it's kind of warm. It's kind of sticky. We have Heat indices still into the mid 80s across the area. And we have been watching a few isolated little tiny guys that have been popping up in southeastern Kansas. Not a big deal, but you can see these kind of lifting toward the north and to the east. These will die down as we go through the next few hours. All right, through the overnight, dropping back through the 70s. Overnight low right around 70 degrees. We'll rebound to 82 by 10 a.m. The heat really kicks in. We're going to be talking about that here in a bit.
See you soon. Kansas City University in Joplin today showed some high school students what it takes to work in the medical field. The day-long MASH camp event introduced 9th through 12th graders to different healthcare career options with plenty of hands-on learning. Students got to tour the various labs and facilities, everything from the emergency room to ambulances to a mock operating room.
We are on day 2 of our summer MASH camp, and so MASH camp is basically just an opportunity for high school students, preferably, to stay engaged with the sciences and healthcare career options, and we just kind of like to give them some opportunities to get in the hospital or to get in the facilities, get their hands dirty, see what different departments are like and things that they would potentially be doing.
Event organizers hope to encourage high school students to get into the medical field in rural Missouri, where there's a shortage of both physicians and dentists. Carthage Public Library had a couple of new visitors. Robots Dash and Dot dropped in on patrons to help teach kids about STEM and STEAM. The pair demonstrated such things as navigating a maze and responding to individual voices. Event organizers hope the two can encourage kids to have fun and continue to learn during the summer break.
STEM and STEAM activities are becoming so important in everyday life. They incorporate so many different aspects of the learning process, and we like to work toward that, or to work with the schools for the summer to keep kids reading and using their brains, doing math, doing science, to keep their brains active so they don't fall into what's called the summer slide.
The Community Foundation of Carthage provided a $4,700 grant to fund robotics programming for the summer. Coming up, the Surgeon General proposes a plan to put warning labels on social media apps. The Surgeon General wants a warning label on social media apps, and one city school system just moved toward banning cell phones. But these plans take time, and kids are out on summer break now. Karen Kafa has a look at how families can strike a safe balance on screen time.
School is out, and Dr. Michael Rich, founder of the Digital Wellness Lab at Boston Children's Hospital, wants to bring back boredom.
So we fill it with what ifs and dreams and let's do this, as opposed to defaulting to a screen and basically giving over our attention and our mind to someone else.
There's been a lot of conversation this week about children and screen time.
Yes.
On Tuesday, the board of the Los Angeles Unified School District voted in favor of a ban on cell phones during the school day, effective January 2025. And in a New York Times op-ed Monday, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy proposed social media apps have warning labels like alcohol and cigarettes.
If we can come together, have each other's backs, and make a pact that put in place these rules for our families, it's easier for us, it's also easier for our kids.
Stephen Balcom, founder and CEO of the Family Online Safety Institute, says he'd like Congress to act on online privacy and safety and for tech companies to be more responsible. But for now, households should make rules.
And realize and factor in downtime and, screen-free zones in the house like the bedroom or the dining room table, screen-free time zones like dinner, like mealtime.
Balcom and Dr. Michael Rich say parents can lead by example and put down their devices too.
Let's remember how precious this time is with these kids. They're not going to be this age forever. Let's enjoy them.
There's been a number of hearings, but Capitol Hill hasn't done much to curb children's social media usage. Several states have taken their own bipartisan actions. Right now, experts say the most effective conversations about healthy and safe social media time can take place at home. Women who are depressed during pregnancy and after birth are more likely to develop cardiovascular issues later in life. Researchers in Sweden hope this finding leads to more studies aimed at finding the best ways to prevent depression and lower the risk of issues including high blood pressure, heart disease, and heart failure. Air pollution is not healthy for anyone, but a new study shows it can be especially harmful for cancer patients. Researchers in China found air pollution increases the risk of cardiovascular disease and death in cancer survivors. They say even short-term exposure to high pollution levels rapidly impacted those individuals. Doug is next with a complete look at the forecast, and later thieves turn their attention to stealing a favorite toy.
Well, of course, a very warm and humid day, but very typical for June 19th. Average highs in the upper 80s. We had 90 for us today. Plus, we are approaching tomorrow, the longest day of the year, daylight-wise, obviously not minute-wise, but daylight-wise, as tomorrow's the beginning of the summer solstice. And then, of course, we start losing daylight for the rest of the summer, fall, all the way until just before Christmas. Looks pretty good right now. Here's our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex tower cam downtown Joplin, looking off toward the north and to the east. Look at our temps, still warm. Across the board, we're sitting lower 80s. We're going to slowly drop down to about 70 later on tonight, but still in Joplin, 81. Easterly winds at about 5. Visibility is good. Still feels like 83 degrees, and that's because our dew points are still up. We always talk about this in the summer. It measures humidity. And when you get into the 60s, that's when you start getting that kind of humid feeling. So 65, kind of where we're at now, is kind of sticky, but we're going to rise on the scale as we go through the rest of the week and especially into early next week. All right, a few scattered thunderstorms have popped up in our western counties. Everybody else has been dry, but you can see these guys. These are lifting off toward the north. It's not a big deal. They're just moderate little thunderstorms just north of Yates Center, a couple near Fredonia, Neodesha over toward Iola, and then west toward Eureka. But those are going to pretty much fizzle apart as we go through the next couple hours. This tropical moisture is coming from this little system down across the Gulf of Mexico, so you can see the upper level winds, and some of this ejects in, giving us a random thunderstorm. Dropping south, that twist right there is the first tropical storm of the season. It's not going to land in the U.S. It's going to push westward across central Mexico. All right, let me walk you through time for tonight. Dropping back near 70, partly cloudy skies. As we go through the daytime hours tomorrow, mid-80s by noon, and we should get right around 90 once again for an afternoon high. Partly sunny skies. Tomorrow night, clear, mild, lower 50s for overnight lows. And then as we go into Friday afternoon, a little bit hotter, 91, 92, 93 degrees for highs. So we're going to continue to kind of march up that scale as we go through the next few days. 73 in the morning, 85 by noon, 89 by 4, high temp of 90 for us tomorrow. And if we look at our heat indices, they're going to be up kind of in that 93 to 95 degree range. And then much of the same on Friday, they'll soar up into the mid 90s and then drop off as we get into Friday evening. So just getting a little bit hotter as we go, especially into the weekend. 90 tomorrow, 92 on Friday, 94 on Saturday, 95 on Sunday. Some morning thunderstorms that will affect us on Sunday, and we're going to be talking more about that in our second half hour.
Okay, well, we need some storms.
We do.
Thanks, Doug. New study finds the cost of maintaining a home is stretching the wallets of many Americans. It's coming up. A huge demand for Legos has turned the classic toy into a target for thieves. Fox Business correspondent Kelly O'Grady has details.
Well, it might surprise you, but Legos actually have become a hot item when it comes to retail theft. I mean, if you think about it, it's an easy thing to resell online without raising any red flags, and thieves, they can actually make a pretty penny on the black market. Now, for example, this Captain America shield, it's going to run you $200. This Harry Potter Diagon Alley set, $450 if you can believe it. But then you think about Star Wars superhero minifigurine collectibles, you could be looking at anywhere between a couple hundred to a few thousand per item. It's why a number of organized retail theft rings have been busted in recent months. Southern California police arrested multiple groups, confiscating over hundreds of thousands worth of stolen Lego merch. Now, we actually talked to one store owner who detailed an attack from a new pair of thieves. She says it was a targeted strike.
They were in and out in 42 seconds. So it was devastating just to basically watch it happen and not be able to do anything about it. They clearly knew exactly what they wanted and where it was in the store.
And what you're seeing is actually footage of that attack. Now, Shauna tells us it's really stayed with her, right? When an expensive item comes in, she questions if the store may get attacked again. On top of that, she won't consider expanding the business until conditions are more secure. Now, critics of California crime policy cite Proposition 47 as an enabler of these types of attacks. Now, the bill reclassified nonviolent thefts below 950 as misdemeanors rather than felonies. So the worry is the consequences for stealing something like a Lego set are not enough to deter thieves when the reward on the black market can be so attractive. In New York, Kelly O'Grady for Fox Business.
A new study from Lending Tree finds that more than 18 million Americans are living in homes that stretch their budgets far beyond what's considered financially healthy. Homeowners considered to be in that situation pay more than 30% of their monthly income on housing, including the mortgage, utilities, and other costs. Some McDonald County students float the idea of making cardboard boats. Find out if they work. That's coming up. On your marks, get set, float. Some McDonald County High School students made waves with a boat building competition. They put their cardboard and duct tape watercraft to the test by trying to float across a pool with at least one person on board. The idea of the summer school project is to teach engineering principles, encourage creativity and teamwork, and in the process have some fun.
They have more fun and they're learning while they do it. It's that whole hidden learning activity thing, and they're supposed to be in summer anyway. You should have fun in summer, and if we can incorporate learning with fun, it's a great time to do that.
Today's race tested functionality and durability of the creations. On a muggy day, getting wet in the pool was an added bonus. 30 more minutes of news, weather, and sports coming your way. We're going to have the latest in the effort by Kansas City to lure the Chiefs and Royals across the state line into Kansas. Plus, fears of bird flu impact the sale of local livestock. What some Kansas producers say about their safety practices.
You're watching the 4 states' most watched news.
This is KOAM News at 9 on Fox 14. I'm Dow Quick. The tug of war over two of Missouri's professional sports teams is building into a war of words. We reported last night lawmakers in Kansas passed a bipartisan plan to lure the Kansas City Chiefs and Royals across the state line. That plan has prompted the Kansas City, Missouri mayor to declare that the move ends a 5-year-old agreement by the states not to poach each other's jobs. The agreement came after decades of feuding between the two states in attempts to pull existing businesses across the border. In 2019, the two governors signed a truce. If Governor Kelly signs the bond measure approved by lawmakers, it would take effect on July 1st. There are concerns the H5N1 bird flu could grow into a more pressing problem for people. It's already spread to livestock herds in at least 12 states, including Kansas, and 4 human cases reported in 3 states. To combat the spread, Kansas implemented strict movement rules for lactating cows that require both a certificate of veterinarian inspection and a negative milk test. But as KOAM Sonia Bach shows us, while producers remain vigilant, they're also confident their products are safe.
We're cow-calf, and I custom graze some stockers. I've got some laying hens, sell eggs to neighbors. We got a few goats for the kids, and I raise hogs.
Wayne Bontrager has been raising livestock at Prairie Oak Farms outside of Parsons, Kansas for 9 years, just long enough to remember the 2015 bird flu outbreak. That year, commercial farms in the U.S. destroyed more than 42 million chickens and 7.5 million turkeys due to the highly pathogenic avian influenza H5N1 virus. This Butterball turkey farm in Jasper County, just one of many with confirmed cases.
You know, there's always that risk. We can't control the birds that migrate through this area. To me, I have never had any issues with it. So I don't have a big concern, but it's something to be aware of.
This year, Bontrager says he was surprised when he heard the HPAI virus jump from birds to cattle. And he wasn't alone.
The fact that it jumped from birds into our cattle, or our dairy population specifically, did catch us off guard.
Justin Smith is the Kansas Animal Health Commissioner.
How many positive tests were there in Kansas?
So we actually had 4 herds that were confirmed positive with HPAI.
And were any of those in the eastern Kansas region?
No, unfortunately, all of our impacted dairies were all out in the western third of our state.
Smith says dairies immediately pulled the infected cows from the milking line, and they took measures to ensure none of their milk entered the food supply.
Proven time and time again, the United States has one of the most safest food supply systems in the world, and we rely on that. And so the processes that have been put in place, whether it be meat inspection at our packing facilities or the pasteurization process within our dairy processors, has been effective and has been proven effective.
Smith says even the infected cows bounced back.
And as they started to come back up feed, we've seen those cows recover really very well. We had very little loss.
Little loss, but still a big concern for livestock producers everywhere.
I'm someone who wants to support the local people around me or whoever buys my products. I want it to be a healthy product for them that they can, understand that we as farmers care about how the public views us.
Reporting in Labette County, Kansas, Tanya Bach, KOAM News.
Smith says recent studies have shown the pasteurization process does inactivate the virus. And if you're worried about eating beef, well, following proper cooking recommendations will also incapacitate the virus within the meat. Later in the show, we're going to find out why one Southeast Kansas dairy farmer decided to change his business after 50 years of milking cows. A little bit later, a flag on the field, but in a good way. John Dales has a story of a donation headed to the Special Olympics flag football program. That's later in sports.
Resort.
Well, of course, a hot, humid day for us today, but still not bad. Very typical for the second half of June around these parts, and it looks pretty good right now. This is a nice shot of our Cornell Arts and Entertainment Complex tower cam. Of course, we are looking at downtown Joplin off toward the north and to the east. Very light breeze, which you can see with the flags blowing out of the southeast. All right, we've seen a few little pop-up thunderstorms across southeastern Kansas over the past couple hours. Everybody else has been dry, and these are very small, not causing much in the way of issues, but from Eureka, Fredonia, up towards Yates Center, and then Burlington, we are seeing those scattered little showers and thunderstorms. This is due to some moisture, Gulf of Mexico, kind of being infected in at least a little bit of it, so we get a few afternoon little pop-up storms. South of that, we have our first tropical storm of the year, which is spinning and is going to move into central parts of Mexico. All right, let's go through time for us tonight. Temperatures dropping back near 70 for an overnight low. As we go through the morning hours, we warm into the mid-80s. By the time we get into the noon hour, and then once we get into the afternoon, most of us right around 90 for an afternoon high. So very similar to what we saw today. Tomorrow night, we drop back again, lower 70s for overnight lows. And then on Friday, partly sunny skies, a little bit hotter. We go into lower 90s for highs. So heat indices are going to be a little bit hotter by the time we head into Friday afternoon. Thursday, day planner, 73 to start, 85 by noon. High temp right around 90 as we go into the afternoon. Plus, our heat indices, the way it actually feels to your skin, they're going to be kind of 93 to about 96, 97. So it's going to be very hot and humid on Thursday. And then we're going to do it again on Friday. We're going to have those heat indices right back into the middle 90s by the time we head into Friday afternoon. All right, let's go to our next storm system. Front drops in. This is going to be late Saturday night. Showers and thunderstorms. It doesn't look like a ton of moisture, but some of these storms could be a little bit stronger. So we're going to watch this Saturday night into Sunday morning, and then they'll be gone. So Sunday afternoon looks okay as we rebound into the mid 90s. But then the heat really starts to kick in. Check this out. On Monday, we're easily mid 90s. Once we go to Tuesday, we're going to warm into the mid 90s. Wednesday, maybe some showers and thunderstorms, but temperatures trying to get into the mid, if not upper 90s. So we're going to really heat up as we go through next week. So a lot of our temperatures are going to start to accelerate upward into the mid to upper 90s. Hopefully, trends will be a little bit better and we can stay around 95 or 96 next week instead of 97 or 98. Well, we'll see how it looks for us tomorrow. But tomorrow's a summer solstice, officially summer.
Longest day of the year as far as daylight is concerned.
Exactly.
Thanks, Doug. Coming up in sports, a local charity makes a donation to the Special Olympics of Kansas. Plus, a Missouri Southern baseball player gets named to the Division II Gold Glove team. John Dales has those stories and more coming up next.
Hey, welcome into sports. I'm John Dales. Janelle Smith-Carson, who grew up in Fredonia, represented Team USA in the 400-meter dash at the 1964 Olympics. 4 years ago, she passed away, but her legacy is being carried on with a foundation in her name. $1,500 to Special Olympics Kansas this afternoon. Janelle's brother, Meade Smith, and husband, Mike Carson, who's the athletic director at St. Mary's Colgan, represent the foundation and present the check. They say it's a great way to continue her legacy.
We have three things: cancer, Title IX scholarships for young women, and Special Olympics were three of her causes that she felt very passionate about.
This money means so much. It enables us to be able to provide shirts for the flag football that's coming here for state competitions, and also just to be able to support our athletes as they compete.
Missouri Southern shortstop Henry Kuziak is named to the American Baseball Coaches Association Division II Gold Glove team. The Lions senior had a fielding percentage of .988 this past season on 242 chances. He had just 3 errors to go with 154 assists, 85 putouts, and 27 double plays started. Kuziak is one of just 9 players from across all of Division II to receive this year's Gold Glove Award. Over to collegiate summer baseball, the Outlaws finish a 2-game series against the first-place Flying Bison tonight in Abilene. This one not finished yet. Latest check of the score has Joplin trailing 3-2 in the bottom of the 7th. In Major League Baseball, the Royals and Cardinals both on the road today. KC has the second of 3 games against Oakland. St. Louis wraps up a 3-game series against the Marlins after losing in a walk-off in the 10th inning last night. Matthew Liberatore starts on the mound for the Cardinals and runs into some early trouble. His first pitch of the day swung on and crushed to left center for a home run. Now the next batter right after that, Jesus Sanchez, same result, another home run. The Marlins go back-to-back. They open up a 2-0 lead in the first inning. Cardinals get back in it though. 7th inning, down 3-2. Paul Goldschmidt rips this down the line to left. Mason Wynn will come around to score. We're tied at 3. Next inning, bad news for Cardinals fans here. Nolan Arenado takes a pitch off the inside of his right elbow, goes down in a heap. He would leave the game after this. Now to make things worse, we go to the bottom of the 9th, still tied. That's when Otto Lopez hits a line drive the other way. Alec Burleson just can't quite get a hold of the ball. And the Marlins walk off the Cardinals for the second day in a row. Final score 4-3. Redbirds back at home tomorrow to face the Giants. Now over to the American League. The Royals are in Oakland for the second night in a row. Most recent check of that score has the A's winning 2-0 in the bottom of the fifth. Oakland got both of its runs in the third inning off Royal starter Cole Reagans. Not sure if you saw that Cardinals game. The right fielder, Alec Burleson, just could not grab the ball. He picked it up, lost it, tried to still throw home, couldn't get it. That was a tough way to lose, but it looked kind of funny.
Yeah, there's no good way to lose, but you lose in a walk-off. You
2 nights
have
in
an
a row,
injury
too.
to the elbow,
Yeah.
and you give up 2 home runs to start the game. It's not a good game at all. We'll be right back.
Great adventure.
In the last 5 years, the state of Kansas has lost more than a quarter of its dairy farms. But on the flip side, the number of cows in the remaining herds are increasing. KOIM's Tanya Bach looks into the shift and introduces us to a now former dairy farmer who says he was milked out of the business.
Dang, you're 70 years old, so there. I know you invested $3 million or $4 million, whatever you want to invest in having a big tombstone, I guess, basically.
The tombstone Richard Amershek is referring his livelihood for over 50 years, the Amershek Dairy.
Back then, it was kind of do pretty good at it. People just started out just, milking an old barn somewhere. Then they got the health regulations got so stringent, you had to pretty much build a new barn and pretty good facilities.
In 1974, Amershek and his brother built their new dairy barn.
We turned them out in nice weather. That way it'd be off concrete. Concrete's hard on cattle. And concrete's hard on everybody.
They started with 100 cows and eventually built their herd up to milking 150 cows every day, 16 at a time.
You're there every day. If you're not there, somebody's got to be there.
No matter if it's a holiday or if Mother Nature decides to be a friend or foe.
20 below or 120 above, or the wind blowing 50 miles an hour north or 50 miles an hour to the south, you're just there.
The occupation of running a dairy herd is labor intensive. And so the fact that, a lot of our families that used to be dairy, that had the family at home that was doing that, they've had to do other things. They've had to go out and get other jobs, or the kids have moved off and haven't come back to the farm.
Did you have any kids that were interested?
I didn't have nobody. I never been married. Nobody'd have me. I'm going to die a lonely, happy old man.
Amershek says it wasn't just the labor that wore on he and his brother.
The milk companies that buy your milk are more picky than the state inspectors. I mean, if you happen to find any antibiotics in your milk, you have to buy the whole truckload.
As we see these dairies become larger, they have the ability to do it more efficiently and more economically than some of our smaller dairies have. And so it is one of those things that we are seeing. The number of dairies that we're seeing across our state is diminishing, but the number of cows is not.
We just hung everything up, even after the last ticket there. We just hung everything up and walked off.
Oh, so this was the last load that went out? This one here?
Yeah, just a partial load.
October 2021, 742 pounds headed to a processor in Springfield.
I think maybe go up this gate over here.
Knowing the bigger farms were milking out his chances of retiring exclusively as a dairy farmer, about 15 years ago, Amershek started to diversify. He runs a few beef cattle and leases the majority of his land for hunting.
I'd have to replace everything. I'd run several $1 million, so I decided just to spend the rest of my life on booze and women. So.
Closing the dairy farm chapter of Amershek's life and hopefully turning the page to a little relaxation. Reporting in McCune, Kansas, Tanya Bach, KOAM News.
In 2018, Kansas had 280 dairy farms with 158,000 milking cows. Today, there are only 209 dairies, but the number of dairy cows has increased to 175,000. The newest federal holiday enjoys nationwide observance today. We're going to take a look at Juneteenth celebrations all across the country. That's coming up. The nation's newest federal holiday comes as baseball's oldest Hall of Famer passes away. Fox News correspondent Chad Pergram is in Washington with more on how the nation is paying tribute to both.
Across the country, celebrations honored the nation's newest federal holiday, Juneteenth.
The true second Independence Day in our nation's history.
Recognized officially in 2021, June 19th today serves to celebrate the nation's end of slavery.
It is incumbent on all of us in our celebration to dedicate ourselves to knowing our history.
But this year's day of celebration comes amid sorrow. Baseball icon Willie Mays, considered one of the game's greatest, passed away Tuesday at age 93 on the eve of Juneteenth.
Willie Mays was very, very unusual and incredibly effective without being on a soapbox.
Mays was one of the first 20 black players to play in the major leagues. The center fielder began his professional career in the Negro Leagues in 1948. He was baseball's oldest living Hall of Famer. Those soft-spoken many credit Mays with helping pave the way for black players in the bigs.
The God-given talent that he had, he displayed full time and never in confrontation on anything, whether it was how much he was paid, it was whether or not somebody made a bad call.
Former President Obama awarded Mays the Presidential Medal of Freedom. President Biden said he wanted to play center field because of Mays' basket catches. In Washington, Chad Pergram, Fox News.
And that's our time for tonight. Thanks for joining us. We're going to leave you with video of the first sea lion pup born at Point Defiant Zoo in Tacoma, Washington, the first in the zoo's 119-year history. Let's make it a great tomorrow.